I have a dream of what I wanna be. I wanna be free. That's what my heart keeps telling me. Give me your hand, we'll find a way. There's people out there who feel the same. If we help each other, I just know we can succeed. We are one, but we are different. We're from all around the world. We share the same sun, we share the same ocean. Where every boy and girl come together and share our dreams. We'll be among the stars, and we know that it's our destiny. We are unity. We are unity. I do believe, oh, I believe in destiny. It's up to me to make it into reality. Give me your hand, we'll find a way. There's people out there, we feel the same. If we help each other, I just know we can succeed. We are one, but we are different. We're from all around the world. We share the same sun, we share the same ocean. Where every boy and girl come together and share our dreams. We'll be among the stars, and we know that it's destiny. We are unity. We are unity.
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. I'm Reverend Karen Brammer. Always honored and full of gratitude that I'm here with you. And I would like to just remind us that we have the privilege, the joy, the responsibility of being here together in ways where we can express care and in ways that we can acknowledge we're so different from one another. And even though we may be very aware of our likenesses, sometimes we may not be aware, and then we can find out, we can learn, be curious with one another about how we are different from one another. Because here we celebrate our differences, here we learn from our differences, here we remember the ancestry of not only our tradition, but of the people who were here before we were here. And so we are here with gratitude and love and deep commitment to continue our beloved connection to one another. And to those not here yet, welcome. I'm going to invite Jeff to come hold the form for announcements, and then I will add a couple of my own.
Good morning. There will be a climate action team meeting this morning, and that'll be after you get your coffee, around 11:45 or so. Barb won't be with us today. More about that later. It will be on Zoom, nonetheless. So the usual. Democracy in Action team meets Monday at 7 p.m. And the long-awaited, we've been waiting 200 years for the Bicentennial Task Force is going to meet on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Everything I've mentioned is here in person and on Zoom. Also on Thursday, A Course in Miracles, 7 p.m. That's ongoing. And where's our sock lady? Jean Perry, come on up.
Actually, Deborah Hockenbach is the sock lady. This year, she's asked me to make this announcement. This year, again, there will be a collection for children's socks. And when we say children, remember that elementary schools go up to 6th grade, so big boys and girls can wear adult socks. So they don't have to be real little, they can be any size. But new socks, don't bring any used ones. The sock drive will go on till February 23rd. It's for the children at Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary and Kernan Elementary, which are the two most high-needs schools in Utica. So please bring them in. There's containers in the back. And by the way, this year when we did I did the drive for the hats, gloves, and mittens. As you're shopping, if you find things on clearance and you find more, you want to put them aside till next year. I'll be doing that again next year before Christmas, so thank you.
Wonderful. I would like to add that we are going to have children's programming again with some participation from volunteers. And what I've got here is a sign-up sheet for folks who have been trained in spirit play, also adults who would like to help teach the children things based on our UU values. And if you have questions about it, let me know. And I'm going to leave this here for the moment, and then we'll pass it around at coffee hour. Also, the announcement that has not a specific date on it, but you'll figure that out when you see the newsletter. We'll be doing a service called Journey for Anti-Oppression, or Journeying for Anti-Oppression. We'll have a conversation, those who would like to be part of it, after the service in the room across the hallway. And as part of that conversation, there's a book called Waking Up White. And it is, there are like 10 more copies of this in the back. You don't have to have read it to be part of the conversation, but it's full of really interesting, thought-provoking questions in addition to this person's story. And so I'll invite you to either purchase one for $5 or just borrow one and bring it back when we have the discussion. But this discussion is about more than racism. There are many forms of oppression. And so please feel welcome to come to that conversation, I believe the end of February. And I also want to, let's see, I think that actually is it from me for the moment. Any other announcements that need to be made? Please, Mary.
I know you're all dying to sign up for coffee hour. Don't worry, we got plenty of open slots. Next week, I think we got one person signed up. It would be nice if they had a partner. The week after that, nada. So get out there and see that sign-up sheet. You'll be so happy.
Thank you. If you would turn to page 448 in the gray hymnal, 448. Two words from Christine Robinson. And I have asked David Jones if he would light our chalice as we read this. And you're welcome to stay seated. Please join me when you're ready on 448. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Thank you. and I will read the opening words. And if you feel moved to read the parts that are italicized, please join me. Ken Patton was a Universalist minister who, in the Midwest, designed a Unitarian Universalist church that in the front, I believe, is an image of the galaxy, and in the back of the sanctuary is an image of the earth. And people, when we worship there, are in the basket of the entire universe as a way to remember the context of where we come from and who we are. And so in opening words from Ken Patton, I'll begin by reading, "We arrive out of many singular rooms, walking over the branching streets," and you're welcome to join me. "We come to be assured that brothers and sisters surround us to restore their images on our eyes. We engage our voices in common speaking and singing. We try again that solitude found in the midst of those who with us seek their hidden reckonings. Our eyes reclaim the remembered faces. Their voices stir the surrounding air. The warmth of their hands assures us, and the gladness of our spoken names. This is the reason of cities, of homes, of assemblies in the houses of worship. It is good to be with one another." And with that, we'll sing together from the Blue Hymnal on 1003. Keeping you busy with different books here today.
All right, so this piece is going to eventually be sung as a round, but we need to go through it and learn it first. So let me play it once for you, and then we will all sing it together, and then I'll tell you how the round's going to work. So. Now all together. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? And so now you can rise as you are willing and able. And then if you are on the far half of the room, you are going to sing with Chris and Paul and Beth on that side, and you're going to start first. If you're on the half of the room closer to me, you're going to sing with me and Jean, and we're going to come in second. We're going to do the whole thing 3 times through in this round. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery. Life Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going?
I love rounds because when I get lost, I just stay on the same stanza, and all of a sudden, everybody's singing with me. Eventually, it comes around to where I got stuck, right? Good, good. Now, I'm hoping that you have a sheet of paper somewhere near you that at the top it says UU Jet Pig. UU Jet, Jet-P-I-G. This was invented by a woman named Paula Gribble, who's a director of religious education. She works with the children and the families of the UU Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. And she realized that that many of us are very, very connected to the 8 principles and know those well. And those are in the front of our hymn book, the 7 of the 8. And then we've evolved this last year as an association of 1,000 congregations to adding a sense of what our deep values are so that we can know not just what we say what our principles are, but how we want to live on them. What difference do we want to make in the world because we have those values? And so Jet Pig is a way for our religious educators to help children and adults remember what the heck all these new values are. And so J is for justice, P is for pluralism, I is for interdependence, G is for generosity, L is for love, E is for equity, T for transformation. Now, we'll talk more about UU identity in a little bit, but for now, this is a way to help our young people not just feel comfortable here, but begin to get a sense of what we are about, what do they claim as their own, okay? So I've invited Samantha, or Sam, to come forward because I have a project that will help the children remember Jet Pig. This is called our Wonder Basket. And I hope that sounds like a pig. I don't know if you can see that. Come on up, Sam. And so what we're trying to do is make this pig look as though it has a jet pack on. So that's part of the Jet Pig experience. And then, here we go. Because the pig is flying around, it has a helmet. And what I have that Sam has agreed to help me with here is a basket that has a cat that would like to look like a jet pig, with a jet pack, of course, and a piglet nose and piglet ears. Excellent. Hi, Maria. Excellent. And so, okay. Would you like to take this? Do you want to bring this to the table for me? Yeah. Why don't you bring that back and Sam will help you understand what we're doing with it, okay? This is all good. All good. So Jet Pig is part of our identity. Ha. Would you like to bring that to the table and then we'll play? You'll go eventually. So why don't you go ahead and bring that and then you will get Maria following you, I'm sure. All right. So I am so curious about the idea of identity. I wonder if you can imagine getting a tattoo of a chalice. We have many young adults who are Unitarian Universalist who do not attend a church because it doesn't quite meet their lifestyles, but they have on their bodies the image of a chalice because their identity is wrapped up in who we say we are and who they want to live into. I wear a chalice necklace, and I wear it not just for me because I feel close to what this means, but I also wear it because people ask me, what does it mean? And I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but there is such a thing as a UU elevator speech. So that when you're in the grocery line, somebody who says, what's that? I can have a sense of how I want to respond to that person. And so part of what today is about is helping you develop your own elevator speech, whether or not you choose to wear Unitarian Universalist chalice or any other kind of thing that'll identify you, like a bumper sticker. There are Unitarian Universalists who have UU bumper stickers. There are pins and rings, and we have chaplains, Unitarian Universalist chaplains in the military and serving our prisons, because when it comes down to life and death in particular, a person who can identify themselves as Unitarian Universalists will get the kind of help that will help them live, rather than the kind of help that may drive them back into an old reactive place or a place that doesn't connect for them. And so all over our world, and in the United States in particular, the challenge before us is to figure out, do I have a Unitarian Universalist identity? And if I do, how the heck do I talk about it, right? So I'll back us up a little bit and say that whether you feel like this is part of your faith, whether you feel like this is part of your moral fiber or your ethical development, however you experience Unitarian Universalism, through all those parts of JETPIG, or our 8 principles, or our covenant as a congregation to one another, whatever part of that resonates with you, that really has meaning for you, that can become part of your identity. And that's the thing that you would like my guests to share with others who may want to know about Unitarian Universalism. My understanding of identity is that it changes over time. At least that's been my experience. And that there are some aspects of my identity that haven't changed a lot except for my understanding of my identity. As a lesbian, early on, that meant that I felt very isolated and frightened. And over time, I have recognized it is such an essential part of my strength and of my understanding of the abuse of power. So there are so many ways that our identities get more nuances over time and also change over time. And that is not just okay. Growth is a thing we value in Unitarian Universalism. So I understand with the development of faith among children and people as we age is that it's a kind of a spiral where early on in life, you develop sets of understanding that help you make sense of the world. Identity is meaning making. It helps us make sense of the world until the way I make sense of the world has to change because there's a crisis or something that happens or a way we understand what's happening in the world, and our belief system can't help us through it. So we're challenged. We often have a crisis of faith or a crisis of identity where we have to develop something more to help ourselves make meaning of how we're living and where we're living and how we want to be in the world. And so how we make our meaning is, you can call faith formation, you can call it moral development, ethical claims, whatever works in your understanding and your experience of the world, it matters. Because over time, how you claim who you are may change, and it may incorporate more and more of an understanding of the world, and in fact, incorporate paradox. That life has such conflicting realities that we care about two things or three or four things that actually are in competition. So identity is not a small thing. And so many of us aren't in a place where we can articulate our identities. And so today, I'm not going to tell you what your identity is. I'm going to invite you to think about your identity and which parts of your identity would you claim are part of what it means to be Unitarian Universalist, or just part of what's essential and core in your life today. So one of the things that is also essential to remember is that we live in a time, and I'm more and more convinced that this has always been, that there are pressures in our culture that will project an identity on us. We'll look a certain way, we'll act a particular way, and there is a cultural identity that gets imposed on you, and that may be full of acceptance and rewards, and it may be full of rejection and isolation and lack of safety. So identity is also critical for us to understand for ourselves. I've had a number of conversations with our transgendered siblings in these last months about what their identity means right now. It is very complex, in part because if you've already done the work to change your passport, which normally has an M for male or an F for female, people now have had the option, and in New York State, to put an X, because F and M do not fit who I am as a transgender person. However, now, in the current administration, that is not safe, because if I leave the country, I don't know that my passport will be accepted so I can get back into my family and friends and home. So the cultural and the political pressures on your identities are very significant, more significant at some times than others. Certainly when we're talking about systemic oppression, where it's built right into how things work, who gets rewarded, who can get jobs, who can get housing. Systemic oppression has built right into it big assumptions about identity based on how you look or how you move or who your family is, who you love, etc. So at a time when identity is politicized, to say the least, it is so essential for each of us to claim our identity in the way that grounds us, that helps us be whole. For the longest time as a young person, my identity as a lesbian meant that I was a liability to the people I loved, because the children in my life loved me, and we lived in a very conservative area. And my sister said, if you come out to your niece, she will defend you at school, and I'm afraid for what will happen to her. So becoming a liability is a real potential part of your identity. And certainly if you're in a culture that oppresses Jewish people, or in a lot of places in the world, if you're Christian, your identity can be lethal if it's out of your hands, and what do I want to say? If it is politicized in a way that's dangerous. And so it is so essential for every one of us to know something enough about our identities so that no matter what the culture is telling us about our worth, we can come back to who we are, privately, in a hidden way, or up front in a demonstration, but that right now, for people who are transgender, the identity they live is dangerous. And what I'm understanding from many of my transgender friends is that the safety for them is coming from being connected with people who value them. And they make choices hour by hour and day by day about how out to be, if they have that choice. So identity is also something not just coming through you, that you choose or you live. It is also something that our culture and our government can cause us harm with. And so we have a culture in our Unitarian Universalist congregations that says every person has worth and dignity. One of the largest congregations in our denomination is 800 prison inmates. They have found that by becoming a member of Unitarian Universalists, it's called Church of the Larger Fellowship online, and some have chaplains who visit. Becoming part of that community means that they have the capacity to be loved and cared for no matter what they're incarcerated for. And they have an opportunity to develop and change and claim who they want to grow into, who they want to become in the world, as I do. And to do it with support is life-changing. So, gosh, I don't know, sometimes I tell the same story over and over because it changed my life so much, but let me share this one again, and if you've heard it 3 times, do let me know after the service. That way back in the early 90s, I was at a Unitarian Universalist ministers conference, and at that conference, we took a break, and we were in a very conservative area of Maine. So we were all taking a break, sitting out on the steps of the church, and I was on the sidewalk getting a little bit of exercise, and up the sidewalk comes a person who's looking more and more angry as he gets closer. And he stops right in front of me and looks me in the eye and said, "Is this the church that worships lesbians?" I had never heard that before. And of course, I laughed out loud. I laughed out loud, even though he was looking angry, because I was shocked. I just laughed outside and I said, "No, we don't worship lesbians, but I am one." And his demeanor got more intense. And as a result, the ministers up on the stairs of the church, one at a time, stood up. The first one was a man who said, "I'm a lesbian." And then everybody, no matter how they truly identified, stood up and said, "I'm a lesbian." And he was so confused and flustered, probably humiliated, that he just walked away in a huff. And I realized if they had not been willing to do that, that I had to measure how safe I was going to be and do something. So part of being a community of faith is also that we stand with each other, or that we roll with each other, that we do not leave each other out on the end of a branch, right? So there are all kinds of reasons to develop our identity and to be able to claim our identities. So we don't all worship lesbians, I just want to reassure you. So our well-being is tied up in our identity, how we can claim our identity despite the pressures that come at us. And the more often we're able to claim an identity that is not negotiable, that will change, but you cannot tell me that nature is not sacred, because I know the truth of what I say. For those who are connected to a sense of there being a god or a goddess, I have no desire to tell you you are wrong. It is such a core and sacred place in you that should always be honored. And in this place, we honor wherever you are in that spectrum or universe of identity. So I wanted to tell you that my mentor, one of my mentors, had a church in Florida that she served, and at Candles of Joy and Concern, which we'll do, a person that she'd only seen twice in the sanctuary lit a candle, and he said, I am so grateful for this community where I can feel like I can be my true self and be accepted. But he didn't put his candle down. He held it up higher and he said, how dare you hide who you are? So it took me so long to find you. And you can imagine, because this story came to me about 20 years ago, it has profoundly affected my understanding of our public identity. If we're not willing to talk about who we are as Unitarian Universalists, how will people know that we exist and that we would welcome them? How would they know? So I will tell you that there are, many, many kinds of Unitarian Universalists, and there are evangelical Unitarian Universalists. Because they hear this as such good news, they want to share it with everybody who will listen. Because it's life-saving for people who are isolated. So I'm going to invite you, we have many ways of beginning to identify what a Unitarian Universalist is, and one of them is the thing we do, quote unquote, for the children, but honestly, I go back to it, especially for elevator speeches, the one that goes, we are Unitarian Universalists, we have open minds, we have loving hearts, and we have giving hands. We take care of the planet and each other. That's such a profoundly different statement from what happens in our capitalist world, in our world that puts pressure on people to be the same. And so that's just one way. And what I'd like to do, and who knows, Jet Pig may become another. If you all come in with goggles and something on your back, I'll know Jet Pig rings true for you. I'm going to invite you to think for a few minutes about what Unitarian Universalism is to you, why you claim, why you sit here, why you come here. And it will range everywhere from, I found a home here, the people welcome me, I feel safe here, to, I don't know this particular place, but Unitarian Universalism has been the place I go to wherever I travel. There are just so many ways of talking about who you are as Unitarian Universalist. You may be a newcomer to Unitarian Universalist, but there's something about it that is intriguing to you or draws you or helps you feel more whole. And so take a few minutes and think about it. I will actually stop talking so you can think. And if you'd like to write it down, you're welcome to do that. There's paper and pencil in the back. But I will also invite you to say some words if you'd like to. You don't have to, but if you'd like to. I just found Jet Pig's tail. Oops. My deep desire for myself and for each of you is that as you live through each day and each week in the coming months, that you find a home in your own identity, that you value who you are at your core, because you have heard us all say, you are so important, you are so valued. We benefit from your being here as part of this community because we learn from one another. And so may these next weeks and months be for you a celebration of your identity as you find words to describe who you are at your core. May it be so. The next hymn is on 1051 in the blue.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lacey Campbell. So unfortunately, in my community, we had someone commit suicide this week, and another person admitted to the hospital who's struggling with suicide. And I just wanted to mention that it's a real struggle. But I'm a part of their household, and I'm thriving. So we're getting through it, but I just wanted to make that known. So thanks for letting me share.
The offering is collected as a way for each of us to express our love and our commitment and sharing. And I'm grateful for the music that we'll hear along the way.
Just as you are without changing a thing, just as you are, I accept you. I see you, I hear you, I welcome you in, just as you are, just as you are. Just as you are without changing a thing, just as you are, I accept you. I see you, I hear you, I welcome you in, just as you are, just as you are. just as you are without changing a thing. Just as you are, I accept you. I see you, I hear you, I welcome you in, just as you are, just as you are. I see you, I hear you, I welcome you in, just as you are, just as you are.
Would you like to join me with the closing words? This time, for real, on 692. Thank you for the offering. That comes afterwards. I'm so happy you made a mistake. Thank you. Oh, it's really good to have company there. 692, closing words. I often rely on Jeff to help me steer the course. If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another, that they may come true. If you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Go in peace. And now if you would join as I extinguish the chalice. We this time extinguish the flame.
Community, or the fire of commitment, these we carry in our hearts until we meet again. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves down to the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves down to the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
I know we all appreciate the music so much. Thank you.